Hello and welcome to another thoughts video here on Mole Under Management. My name is ChaosMole and today I have the privilege to talk a little bit about Pharaoh: A New Era. If you don't know, this game has been quite old. It came out in 1996, I know, ages ago, and it was the game of my childhood. I have put so many hours into the game. It was one of the very first games I've actually played on a PC. The other games were Age of Empires and Command and Conquer, I would say, and then some others. But Pharaoh was definitely one of those games. And it also taught me a lot of history. It made me interested in history. And this is why the Egyptian ancient era is one of the most beloved eras in history for me. So this game has a lot of weight to it. And I was delighted to hear that the game is getting a remake. Now, the thing is, and this is something I have asked myself since the first time they have announced the remake, is, does this game need a remake? And the question is, yes, no, depending on where you are coming from. And this will also answer the question, should you buy this game or should you not? So let's have a look at it, shall we? So first things first, this game is definitely up to date. And I don't necessarily mean the graphics. They try to be as faithful to the graphics as possible. But you can see that those graphics are now 3D, and in the old classic version, or just the classic version, right, it is 2D and everything is hand-drawn. And unfortunately, I have seen a lot of complaints about the 3D graphics. Thankfully, they have, I would say, updated them a little bit since the last time we saw them. But it is still clear that it doesn't look as aesthetically pleasing as the classic version of the game. And I see a lot of people saying, well, then this is clear for me. I don't have to play the new version. I'm out. Before you say that, there are actually some quality of life updates in this game the old version just doesn't have. It has a pretty good tutorial now, which is you explaining exactly to you how to build your first cities, and helps you a little bit. Of course, as a veteran player, you don't really need that. One of the newest and I think biggest addition to the game is that you can now change if you have a global worker pool, or if you still want to do the old way. What was the old way? Well, the old way was that you had to put down something where you need workers, and then an NPC would go from house to house to basically grab the workers and put them into work. The problem with that was the guy who did that was not really the smartest NPC in the universe. Sometimes you had moments where you had a lot of worker residents close by to a building which needed workers, and then your NPC was just like, no, I'm going the other direction. And now some people might say, well, this is why you have a street blocker mole. I get that. Didn't always work. Or they would just go like into the direction they have been going before, where they don't really find workers anymore. And there were some moments where I wasn't really happy on how they would distribute the workers. So now we can just say, okay, you don't have to send out somebody anymore to get the workers. You can just have a global worker pool. And that's what I have basically been using, which you can see in the background. And it felt so much better. It really felt so much better. I had a lot more fun in planning my cities and actually caring a little bit more for what was really important, managing your city, and not making sure that one dude has an easy way to go from A to B, right? So I think that is a very good addition. But back to the graphics and where people say like, nah, sorry, man, but the old game just looks better. I agree. I think that the hand-drawn 2D backgrounds and characters looked just much better because they were hand-drawn. But I think there's something we have to understand. The old guard, who has played Pharaoh since the early days, we will probably never get the remake. Because Pharaoh, besides of a few things, is definitely one of those games which stood up against the test of time. It is still playable today, not just from a technical perspective, but also from a gameplay perspective. And if you are installing an HD patch, you can play the game in 4K and it still looks fantastic. But that's really the thing. I don't think that the new era was made for veteran Pharaoh players. It was made for people who have never heard about the series. Keep in mind, we have now another generation, and maybe you are even older than I am. You're not a millennial, right? Which I am. And they are now another generation. They are 2 generations after us who have maybe never heard about this game. And they will not go to Steam, they will not go to GOG or any of the platforms and just look for the old Pharaoh game. So having a new game, which you can just, well, new game, right? But a game which you can push out, which looks kind of new and looks like up to the standards of 2023, is a huge boon for the series. Again, I see a lot of people just saying, nah man, just playing the HD version. Then do it. I do it. I totally do. But a new era was, I think, never meant to be for the veteran players. You will enjoy this as a veteran player. I even have to say, like with some of the quality of life updates, like the worker pool and the the towers and the water gates that you don't need a street close to them, makes the game so much better. Like, I had so many moments in especially bigger cities where I had to put streets to like towers or to those water tunnels just so people could get there. And I always thought, this is dumb. This also ruins a little bit my city planning, and I would love if this goes away. And that's exactly what they did. Again, they did small changes. They didn't overdo it, but they did some small changes which make the game just more fluent and more up to date. And this will really help to get this game to a new generation. And maybe, just maybe, if this game is selling well enough, we might get a second Pharaoh at some point, with actually some real cool updates, with some new ambitions. But I said it before and I say it again, if you are a veteran player, you are good. You have your Pharaoh game. It still runs well, it still looks good, it still plays well. You don't need Pharaoh in New Era. If you are a new player though, who really loves some detailed city building where you have to please the gods, where you have to take care of your economy, where you have to see like how is the Nile doing, right? Like one of the main features in this game is that you have agriculture, and the agriculture is, most of the time at least, directly linked to the Nile Delta. And if you have enough soil there, you can utilize, right? And of course you have to please the gods to make that happen. And there's a lot of detail in this city builder game. Again, as a veteran player, you already know that, and I don't really have to tell you that. But for new players who have never seen this game before, this city builder and the new version of the game is good and will definitely keep you up at night for a long time. So, to make a point here, for veteran players, you can just play the Pharaoh game you have been playing for nearly 30 years. That hurts. But for all the new players, Pharaoh is a really good city builder, especially if you love ancient Egypt. You want to go through, what is it, like 5,000, no, not 5,000. Is it 5,000? I think it's 4,000 years of history. And you just want to like see how basically like all those huge Egyptian cities came to be, because you are building them. You have to manage the people, you have to make sure that they have enough food, that they have enough water, and then of course have enough luxurious resources. And you also have to keep the gods happy, because if you're unlucky and the gods are pissed, they will make sure you know, because they can be very, very petty. Yeah. But Pharaoh still holds up as a fantastic city builder game with a lot of depth to it, which can cost a lot of hours to play, but also to learn. And the bigger your city becomes, the more complicated the game becomes. Because if you are missing something, if you are just underestimating your city planning, things can get out of control very fast. It's definitely one of those games which give you the feeling of safety, but then later on it's like, oh no, what have I done? Oh no, I didn't build that building in the right area. Oh no, the architect is stopping like 2 meters before the building they actually had to check out, and now the building collapsed, or there's a fire in the city which you didn't account for. And like there's a lot of like learning process in this game. So there will be moments where, as a new player, you will restart the mission, you will restart your city, because you screwed it up so much that it is a dead end. Yes, and that is true even for the remade version. So keep that in mind. There's definitely a lot of learning to it, but it is still fun, as it was in 1996 when this game came out. Or was it 1999? I think it was 1999. I'm swapping something right now. It was 1999. And I can still absolutely recommend this game. It is bug-free, it runs well. I mean, the mechanics are proven, they haven't really changed them too much. So if you're looking for a city builder game in ancient Egypt with some like fantasy elements to it, let's call them fantasy elements. I was looking for the right word, with the gods, then this game will probably please you. And yes, there's fighting in the game. I have to admit, I have never really indulged the whole fighting aspect of Pharaoh, because I always was more interested in my city building and doing some management with trading and all that. But there is fighting in the game. I can not tell you how good it is or how bad it is now, because again, I've never indulged it in the past, and I didn't really check it out with the remade version of the game. So that's the only part which I didn't test out, and I can't unfortunately talk too much about it. But I can say it existed back in the old version, it exists in this game, and I think it will pretty much function the same way if you are looking for some more of an action. It's not a real-time strategy game, to make that absolutely clear, but there are some fightings. You can get invaded or raided if you so desire, and you can build your own army if you so desire, and also wage war to other cities. Yeah. But again, Pharaoh is still a fantastic city management game with now updated graphics and some upgraded gameplay elements. And if you've never played the series and you were looking for an excuse to do so, then this is now your time. For all the veterans who have been playing this game for years and years, nothing has really changed. And you can just stick with basically the HD patch version of the game if you so desire. Nobody stops you. And I think that's fine. I have to say, I came to terms with how the game looks now with the remake after I have played it a little bit. Like at the beginning, I was also very much like, ooh, this is rough. But now that I've played it more and saw it more in motion, it doesn't look half as bad. Yeah. But I think those are my thoughts so far on Pharaoh: A New Era. The game is available on Steam as far as I know. I don't know if it's also available on GOG and some other places, but it's definitely on Steam. And again, if you're looking for a city builder management game, which you've never played before, maybe because you have missed out on it, or you are still younger than the veteran generation who played this, then you should definitely check it out, because the game is still very good. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and to subscribe to the channel when you are new. Here at Mole Under Management, we are checking out a lot of strategy building and management games, as the name is kind of like leading you on. And we are also doing live streams here now and then when there is a new management game. I do my thoughts videos here. Next week, we have Company of Heroes 3 coming up, and there's probably a lot to be said about that game. Really looking forward to it. So if you want to know more about that game as well, make sure to subscribe. If you ever want to check out my other two channels, which one is my reaction channel, where I'm reacting to like gameplay, trailers, and cinematics and all that, it is at Mole Reacts here on YouTube. And then we have my main channel, which is at ChaosMole, or youtube.com/ChaosMoleFX, because partner channel has its own thing and all that. And we are doing most of my live streams there. I'm also planning to do a playthrough of Sons of the Forest, Atomic Heart. We are doing some Hogwarts Legacy right now. Wild Hearts, if they're fixing the game, that would be nice. And yeah, if you want to check all that out, you'll also find the link in the video description, so you can't miss out on it. And again, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.